Hello everyone, I'm a friendly tree, and to start off I'd like to thank you all for checking out my video. This is another episode of Nina Williams In Depth, and what we want to talk about today is Nina's rage art. Before we do that, let's check our settings. So it's always important to make sure your settings are as you want or as you expect before you do any labbing, to make sure that you don't get any misinformation. Now we're talking about rage art, so I'm going to put rage on for both characters here. Let's look at the move list. Rage art. As you can see here, it's move number 1. During rage, down 1+2. Before we go into the move, I'm going to quickly look at controller setup and just point out that there is what's called the rage art button too. So I'm just going to map this to my L3, or tapping down the L stick. I don't generally have this button mapped, but it can be useful, and it can be very useful depending on the character you're playing. For Nina, it's not so important in my opinion. So when you're in rage, which is when you're under a certain amount of health, you'll have this red aura around you. And to do this move, you press down 1+2 at the same time. And it's got a very long-winded animation, so you might want to get a cup of coffee or something ready for this video. As you can see, it deals 55 damage. That's at this level of rage, so I believe the less health you have, the more damage it will do too. Because it's a down input with rage with Nina, you can actually just crouch and press it. So you can hold down and press 1+2 when you're ready, or you can recover crouching from a blocked move and then press 1+2. The reason for the rage button instead, some characters cannot do this from crouching unless you have the rage button. That suddenly means they can access it from a stance, from any sort of position. Obviously you can't do this during some kind of hit or block recovery, so having the button won't make it come out instantly, but it will put you in a position as long as if you're in a state where you can move backward or forward, you know, when you're in a neutral state, then you can perform it. Alright, let's look at the properties of it. So 55 damage. If you look at the startup frames, it's 20, and it's one active frame, meaning there's only one possible frame it can connect on. If we get them to block it, it's very minus. So minus 22. So anyone in the cast can punish this. And it's a mid. I should point out some characters have different properties with their rage arts, but universally most of them are about 20 frames startup and about this negative. Some of them are faster and safer at the trade of being duckable. Some of them are harder to punish than others because of pushback and other properties. But Nina's is pretty standard in that regard. But it does shine in one regard that others don't, and this is pretty spectacular. If I go to about range 4.3, look at the distance from the opponent, okay? Because I'm going to do my rage art, I'm just going to press the rage art button, and you're going to see this distance change dramatically. So it goes from 4.3 to 3.8. So you get a 0.5 change before the move even comes out. She just goes flying forward during the move, like during the startup animation. You don't even get to see it. Now if I go back to about 4.4, I believe this will whiff. No? Okay, 4.4 works, 4.5 I think whiffs then. This is about the tip of the range, but look at that, look at how far away you are there. That's pretty much full screen. Yeah, so 4.4 is about the tip there. And what's significant about that is you can use it to punish in a lot of scenarios that other characters couldn't. It's actually quite effective as a whiff punisher because of that. And quite easy to connect in juggles because of it too. Okay, what about linearity? Oh, actually no, before we talk about that, let's talk about its startup. So it's 20 frame startup. All rage arts have armour on the startup, and not only do they have high armour, not only do they absorb mid attacks like power crushes, but they absorb low attacks too. So for a start, let's do that. So we're neutral into rage art. If I do a down forward 1, it gets absorbed. If I do a down 3, it gets absorbed. The only thing, I can't remember the interaction here. Yeah, so it beats rage arts as well. So a rage art will not absorb another rage art. That looks funny, doesn't it? Let's do it again. But, of course, it's not invulnerable from frame 1, and that would be pretty scary if it was. So if we do something like... Oh, yikes. Not used to that, -3 recovery. Here we go. If we do something like this, -3... Okay, I'm doing that wrong. That's pretty much me demonstrating it. So you can see it's a punish, because it's not active, frame 8. So I can do an attack before the Rage Art comes out. If I do a back 2, no, it's still the same. Down forward 1. I reckon I've got the timing wrong here. But the point is it takes 8 frames for it to go. Yeah, I've definitely got the timing wrong. It takes 8 frames for it to actually go into that animation and have the armor. Yeah, I'm too slow there. So that's like on the 8th frame just there. So it's not something, it's not like an invulnerable Dragon Punch. It's not like Akuma's EXDP or older Dragon Punches in Street Fighter where you just have instant invincibility. So you can't just throw it out at any frame and have it absorb attacks. But still, it's worthwhile knowing that it does have good armor. And it's from frame 8 until it hits. This does lead to a few weird situations, or more, not this, but Nina's hitbox leads to some weird situations. So her hitbox here, I can kind of jump over it, but not always. That was a bad example, sorry. We'll do this one. Oh, never mind. It's a mid, but it's a low hitting mid. And that's important to keep in mind as well, because it can actually go under some highs and some mids. So like there, that clearly went under my kick, didn't it? What about forward 3? So you can see it's actually going under the highs there. Okay, what about tracking? So I'm just going to do like a backdash into it, and you can see here, no way you can sidestep it on reaction. I'm already side walking. You can't avoid it. So it's pretty much a homing move. And I mean, considering it's so unsafe, if you see this move, you might as well just block and launch it. So there's no need to try and step it. It's not really, because of the freezing, because it's not active from the freezing on frame 8, because you've got that time, anyone can just hold back during that. It's not really a move that you're using to catch movement, it's to catch buttons. Okay, let's also look at how we can use it in combos. So, if you do a max hit combo, like, okay, we're just going to skip a hit because it's awkward to get that last one on females. Oh my god. This is what you all come here for, watching me fail my combos. So you can get that, you can run up and get a down forward 1. If I had an extra while standing 1 in there, where I cannot get a down forward 1, you can just go onto Rage Art. But you can actually do that down forward 1 and send them flying and then still get a 10. Anytime after a tailspin that you can hit a down forward 1, it'll work. But now if we go to fewer hits, you can do other things into it, like tailspin. You could do, oops, you could do down forward 3-2 into Rage Art. You could do quarter circle forward 1 into Rage Art. You could do while standing 1, 1-2. Oops, oh my god. That looked cool, didn't it? Into Rage Art. And quarter circle forward 1 into Rage Art. Now obviously you look at this different amount of damage and you think, you know, why wouldn't I do the more damaging option there? And that depends on how many hits you've done. So A good rule of thumb with quarter circle forward 1 is if you can get a quarter circle forward 3 to hit after and connect as a combo, that means you can get a rage art. But if you cannot get a quarter circle forward 1, what do you think? I think you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that won't reach. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That won't work either. But if I take out one more hit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That does reach. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ah, yikes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, it does work, I swear. I swear, everyone. Wow, okay. Not registering my downs. Yeah, there we go. So that's a good rule for there. So after doing 7 hits tailspin, you could see that the quarter circle forward 1 wouldn't work. But if you do that many hits, that's the level where down forward 3-2 works. If we do one more hit, so 1, 2, 4, okay, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, distracted. 1, 2, 3. You'll see that won't work, and that's when we need to start doing something like down forward 1. And that'll work. I think with the while standing 1, 1, 2, it's if you do 5 hits. 4, 5, 6. If we do 6 there, that won't work. But you can still do if you want. So that's more common for that route. Okay, I think that's everything I'll go through about properties. So we've gone through the damage, we've gone through the range, we've gone through the tracking, we've gone through the armor, we've gone through the input, and we've gone through the different reach of it in combos. I will quickly point out as well, if you do a combo where you can get a sidestep 1, you can do it after a sidestep 1, so that's quite useful after like a wall break. You could do a sidestep 1 into rage art and it'll reach, regardless of the number of hits. I think that's all we'll talk about now. We'll go on to application. So, rage art, Nina's rage art in particular, how do we use this move? At 20 frame startup, it's often not used best as a punisher, for the reason of you having a 19 frame punisher and an 18 frame punisher. And as we talked about, it does 55 damage while in rage. Which isn't a great deal when you consider you could do something like this, which isn't very execution demanding, and you get 72. So while you can use it as a punisher, I wouldn't say that's really its purpose in this game, but it is a comeback factor. That's why they've put it in this game. It's for the flashiness and the potential for a comeback. When you have rage, the opponent has to respect this fact that you've got an 8 frame invulnerable move that will really turn the tide of the match if it hits. If we look at something like the range, imagine if someone whiffs a button. Someone whiffs a button at range. From here, I can't exactly punish it, can I? But I can use a rage art. As long as I'm fast enough, I can whiff punish at range with this move as well. You can use it to punish multiple hit moves too. So let's say, what's a good example of Nina? Something like Lee's while running 3-4 comes to mind for me, or Lay's forward, probably not Lay's forward 3, but Lee's while running 3-4. I guess Nina's. Oh, that's not it. Oh my god, inputs are bad. So you could do something like, if that whiffs, if I said whiffs, you can use that. Oh, not a good example. What I want to suggest though is that you can use that if it whiffs and not be afraid of the second hit launching you, to still get the punish, to still get the damage, as long as you've got the life to live, of course. So it can be good against approach in that regard, but obviously you've got to be cautious. You could also use it at low frame advantage, or once you've got player information. Oh, come on. Stand guard all. So when you're at like -3, for example, people are likely to try and challenge afterwards, or just any situation you have where you think the opponent's going to retaliate in some way. So anything where you've got that low frame advantage, it can be a good opportunity. And even things like -6. So even though a 14 frame should win, a lot of the time people are going to hesitate there, or do something like a down forward 1. Obviously if I do that instantly it's going to work, but because of the risk of the follow-ups, yeah. So that's risky, but that's the way that you can apply it. So you can use it based on a read on the opponent, or knowledge of what they're going to do at different frame advantage. So I guess if you've got someone that likes to jab check at sort of when they're at frame advantage from something you've done, you can use it to bait and use a rage art from it. That's probably not the most effective use of it, but it depends on the opponent you're versing. And if you know they're very button happy in that regard, you can do that. You can twitch react too. So for example, I often use it in a situation when I'm low health. I'll back away, I'll be passive. I know I've got the life lead, I know I've got rage, and I'll wait for someone to do something, some kind of movement, twitch sort of movement. As long as I see any kind of movement, like attack movement, I press rage up. And it's easy to confirm that, because you're not confirming a move has whiffed, you're not confirming that a move has been blocked or anything like that, you're just confirming a single movement, so it's easier to look at that. Obviously this can backfire sometimes, because it depends on what the move is, but if you're doing it on point, it's going to be punishing people most of the time. So this is a high risk, high reward comeback if you're using it in the neutral or in a situation like that. So when you're baiting someone or using it out of a combo. The other situation, of course, is in a combo, which we've just talked about heaps. So I've just talked about the different extensions, so depending on the number of hits you do, you can do a different ender. And that is super inconsistent. Darn. Okay, I'm just going to drop all of them and show that maybe you shouldn't risk it if you're going to drop all of them. But obviously you can use it at the end of a combo, and that's increased damage there. Interesting, the game doesn't show the frame advantage on the hit, does it? But we'll go into that in a moment. So you use it in a combo and it's going to knock them back the same amount every single time, isn't it? Ha. Let's say we set the opponent... Actually, let's just talk about this in general. Sorry, this is going to be a bit long-winded. So I do a rage up. La-di-da-di-da-di-da, flip, 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 spin, 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 throw on the ground, break your arm. Do they tick roll? No, they can't. So we already know there that we've limited their options after using this move. They can wake up backward, they can side roll, they can get up kick. Because of their position, we can also spring attack, of course. But it's going to whip. So we can use this information, and we can use the frame advantage, which I'm about to demonstrate here, to our advantage. Okay, spin, spin, spin. This is why I said you needed like a cup of coffee or something before. So if they stay on the ground or they do a get up kick, yikes, that was not what I meant to do. I was not going to show you how a forward 3 whiffs and then you get counter hit by it. What I want to do is a quarter circle forward 3. Obviously still a risky option, but it'll beat get up attacks. With the exception of a spring attack, of course. Actually, does it beat recovery kick? I don't think it beats recovery kick either. But anyway, you're lucky with this because it's a high damage move and it puts you in a favourable position. Okay, so spring recovery kick whiffs unless they delay it, so that's pretty tricksy. If we do a spring attack, it'll beat the quarter circle forward 3 though. God, it's such a long animation. Oh, it whiffs. Cool, for some reason I thought that hit. It probably depends on the character and their spring attack, because I have been hit in that situation, but maybe I've been doing the quarter circle forward 3 too slow. I do also like to use this favourable position, because if you're doing it, you're at low life, so often something like a recovery kick or a spring attack will KO you. So I do like to mix it up either with forward forward 3, or I like to fake out. I like to just bait something. And you'd be amazed how often that works, because they think, oh, I've just got to get one more hit. They're running in, you just do like a dash, back dash, their move whiffs, and you can just do something like that, which will hopefully KO them. Or if it won't, you can always go for something with a little bit less reach, but similar speed. Oops. Yep, that was a fail, but you can do a dash, back dash, so twitch, back dash, and then you're still in a range where you can whiff punish. Let's not go through that animation again, everyone. What else can you use this for? If you use it on hit to end a round, so sometimes, this might sound a bit silly, but let's say you've done that, and let's say you've launched them and you know you've got a guaranteed win, like you can't drop it, you could just do that and it'll KO them. You could instead do a rage art just for the reason of giving yourself a bit more time to think. Let's say you're 2 rounds down, you've got this, so you've just won a round. You can use it just to gather some time to think about what's happened and plan for the next round. So it's a bit of a breather, a bit of a gap. The last thing I'll talk about with this is we're going to talk about just one little interaction, and you're going to be able to find a lot of these. I did a video on this one though, but I think it's worth showing. So let's say with Warong, he does his rage art. His rage art is hard to punish and hard to avoid. With Nina, so if you're stepping already, you can make it whiff, but that's kind of hard to do, isn't it? So what you can do, in the animation you can mash rage art. Oh, come on, I'll do L3. And you'll actually go under it. So that's a demonstration of it going under mids. So as I said before, doing a rage art, you won't absorb a rage art with your own rage art. But Nina's can make some rage arts whiff. So that's a fun little interaction. And there are other scenarios like that too. Oh yikes, I better show another property quickly. This will be the last thing I'll show. It's another weird little interaction that Nina's rage art can have. So Nina has a bit of an issue with a lot of her hitboxes, where she advances forward, but her hitbox doesn't always advance forward as well, and you can sort of be push blocked out of things. So for example, if I do down 3 here, oh come on, I think I have to do it a bit faster, like there. No, faster yet. on, I've got to get the timing right here. That was too slow. No, there we go, I got it. You can use the hitbox of other moves to make it whiff. So that's... I don't know how else to put it. That's not fun at all, is it? So it's important to be aware of those sort of things, because obviously you don't want to be retaliating against a Nina that's using a lot of down 3 or other characters that are using similar moves where it's sort of, I guess it's like a long reaching limb move that can do it. Let's test it with this. Okay, I was too slow. Oh, it just goes through the mid. Too slow. I want to do a while standing one. Okay, we want to get hit. We got it. No. Okay, anyway, so you just got to think of the interactions of the opponent's moves as well, unfortunately. But that's a pretty rare occurrence. Just good to know, good to be aware of. I think that's everything there. I think we're going to go on to the summary now, and we'll change Nina's outfit in the process. Another thing I almost forgot to mention is there are a few situations where a combo may be difficult to pick up, or you might not get too much, and you can use a Rage Art in its place. So a funny example is this. Oops. If you want a lovely 30 damage for a show off. This is a common one, sidestep 1+2, either direction, and you can get a Rage Art off that. If you want to get a bit more damage, that will always work too. And another one that's not often mentioned is the final hit of this. So if you get that final hit there, you do get a free forward 1+2 on the front turned opponent, but you also get a free Rage Art. So definitely some handy things to keep in mind there, just to make sure you're optimizing your damage and, you know, getting the win when you can. Alright. Okay, to summarize Nina's Rage Art. Rage Art in general is a comeback mechanic that was introduced in Tekken 7 that every character gains access to when they're in rage. Nina's one is 20 frame startup and can be input as down 1+2, allowing her to also do it from a crouching position. Or you can use the Rage Art button, which is unique to Tekken 7, to input it as well. It's 20 frame startup, but the Power Crush starts on frame 8, meaning it's not frame 1 invulnerable, and you can't just throw it out after anything or in any situation and expect to get through a character's string or a frame trap or anything like that. Nina's one has insane range, being able to be used from about range 4.4, and that's because it sucks her in when it's used, and this range means it's brilliant to be used for whiff punishing. It can also, because it goes through moves I forgot to mention before, it can go through things like fireballs. It's an amazing punishment against fireball moves too. It's pretty much tracking, so you won't be stepping it or sidewalking it, but because it's negative 22 on block, the opponent has no reason to try and sidestep or sidewalk it. They should just be blocking it. They can jump over it. They can use some moves that leave their hitbox too high, that'll make it whiff, but at the same time this move will often go through highs and mids as well, meaning that you can use it to retaliate in a lot of different ways. It deals a lot of damage and it can give an Oki setup afterwards. It puts you in an advantageous situation as well as the damage, which Nina's very fortunate to get. You can use it in combos, so there are different combo routes to make it higher damage, to make it sort of her max damage combos without a wall being involved, and you can use it after a wall break to extend to maximize her damage too. I don't know what else we need to talk about this move. It's pretty risky like I said, but it's that comeback factor. So You can do it on a read on the opponent pressing buttons. You can use it as a whiff punish reaction, especially when you're at ranges where your launch punishes won't work. But at the same time, if you're a bit too slow, that's good game. So you can often be gambling way too much with this move. So be cautious with your usage. You don't really want to be using it unless you know it's going to hit. That's my opinion at least. Alright, thank you for checking out the video, everyone. What do you think of Nina's Rage Art? How do you think it stacks up against the rest in the game? I think it's amazing because of its range, but of course a few of its interactions make things a bit weird, some in her favour, some not. I use it in combos a fair bit, but that's probably my main usage of the move. And with punishing. Twitch reacting, punishing sort of things. Yeah. Alright, please comment below how you use it, and let me know how you found the video. Thanks everyone, catch you next time.
You win.
What's done is done.